Imagine this. It's late at night, the house is silent, and suddenly, out of nowhere, furniture begins to move, heavy knocks echo through the walls, and a chilling voice speaks from the shadows. Sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, right? But this isn't fiction. In the 1970s, one family in Enfield, England, experienced a series of terrifying events so real, they became one of the most famous poltergeist cases in history. But here's the question. Was it truly a haunting or an elaborate hoax? Let's dive into one of the most debated paranormal cases of all time, the Enfield Poltergeist. A story that's haunted imaginations for decades, with details so strange, even the skeptics were left scratching their heads. It all began in August 1977 in a modest home in Enfield, a suburb of London. The house belonged to Peggy Hodgson, a single mother raising her 4 children, Margaret, Janet, Johnny, and Billy. Peggy's life was simple, focused on taking care of her kids and keeping the household running smoothly. But in the quiet, suburban house, things were about to take a terrifying turn. It started one night when Peggy's daughters, 11-year-old Janet and 13-year-old Margaret, heard strange knocking sounds coming from the walls. The knocking grew louder, and soon it wasn't just knocks. Furniture was moving on its own, toys would fly across the room, and doors would slam shut without a breeze in sight. Peggy and her children were terrified. The term poltergeist comes from German and means noisy ghost. Unlike other hauntings, poltergeists are known for making loud sounds, moving objects, and sometimes even physical attacks. But was this really a poltergeist or something else? As days went on, the activity only intensified. Janet, the young girl at the center of it all, seemed to be the main target. Witnesses reported seeing her levitate, hear her speak in strange voices, and even get thrown across the room by an invisible force. Imagine an 11-year-old girl, lifted off the ground as if by an invisible hand. Chilling, right? Peggy, desperate for help, reached out to the police. When the officers arrived, they too were baffled. One officer claimed he saw a chair move on its own. A police report was filed, confirming this strange occurrence. But with no criminal activity involved, the officers had no choice but to leave. So who do you call when the police can't help? That's when Maurice Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair, 2 paranormal investigators from the Society for Psychical Research, stepped in. They documented hundreds of incidents, from objects being thrown across rooms to bizarre voices coming from Janet herself. Both investigators were respected in their fields, and their involvement only added to the case's credibility. One of the strangest elements of this case was Janet's possession. Witnesses reported her speaking in a deep, gravelly voice, claiming to be Bill Wilkins, an old man who supposedly died in the house years before. Can you imagine a child speaking as if possessed by the spirit of an old man? It was enough to send chills down anyone's spine.
Is anybody there?
No.
Who's there?
Doctor
Doctor Who?
Ghost Chasers here.
The voice of Bill Wilkins became one of the most infamous aspects of the Enfield haunting. Janet would speak in a raspy, guttural voice, entirely unlike her own. She claimed to be Bill, an old man who had died in the living room of the house. She spoke of how he died of a brain hemorrhage while sitting in his chair, recounting details that supposedly lined up with the real Bill Wilkins, a previous resident of the house. This detail sent shivers down the spine of both the investigators and the public. Skeptics claimed that Janet was simply making it up, using her throat muscles in a way that allowed her to create the eerie voice. But even voice specialists were divided on the matter. It would have taken incredible vocal control for an 11-year-old girl to maintain such a voice for long periods, as Janet reportedly did. And here's the kicker. Even when Janet was seemingly possessed, strange things continued happening around the house. Books flying off shelves, beds shaking, and people feeling sudden, icy chills. The Enfield case quickly became a media sensation. Newspapers, TV crews, and reporters from around the country descended on the Hodgson home. Journalists documented eerie events on camera, capturing moving objects and Janet's strange behaviors. Soon, the story was everywhere, sparking debates about whether the events were real or staged. To make things more complex, Janet herself later admitted that she had occasionally faked some events. She confessed to pushing a few objects around and creating some of the noises to play along with the excitement. This, of course, gave skeptics ammunition to claim the entire ordeal was a hoax. But here's the twist. Janet insisted that only a small part of the phenomena was faked. Most of it, she claimed, was terrifyingly real. The Enfield Poltergeist case was so famous it inspired The Conjuring 2, directed by James Wan. The filmmaker stayed close to the original accounts, though some details were exaggerated for cinematic effect. In real life, the case was just as spine-chilling. Naturally, with a story this bizarre, skeptics came forward to question its authenticity. Critics argued that the Hodgson children were simply playing pranks, seeking attention in their otherwise ordinary lives. Magician and debunker James Randi argued that all of the supernatural elements could have been easily staged. Even famous paranormal investigator Ed Warren, who visited the house with his wife Lorraine, faced scrutiny. Skeptics claimed the Warrens were more interested in profiting from the case than uncovering the truth. Some psychologists suggested that the family's stress, especially with Peggy raising 4 kids on her own, could have contributed to a psychological phenomenon called mass hysteria. In cases like these, intense emotional stress can lead people to believe in shared supernatural experiences. Essentially, the more they believed something strange was happening, the more they saw it. Some psychologists theorized that poltergeist activity could be a type of psychokinesis, where people subconsciously move objects or create strange effects due to stress or repressed emotions. Was this what happened with Janet and her family? Despite the critics, many in the paranormal community stand by the Enfield case as one of the most credible poltergeist events ever documented. Maurice Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair, the primary investigators, dedicated months to studying the activity in the house. They recorded hundreds of hours of audio and claimed to witness unexplainable phenomena firsthand, things they believed couldn't be faked. In one notable instance, Playfair witnessed Janet levitating in her room, a sight he described as genuinely shocking. He also recorded numerous instances of the strange voice, known as Bill, speaking through Janet, even when she was asleep. For those who believed, this was evidence of genuine supernatural activity. The case also gained credibility from the sheer number of witnesses. Neighbors, friends, police officers, and journalists all claimed to have seen or heard things they couldn't explain. Could they all have been mistaken or deceived? As the years passed, the Enfield Poltergeist case faded from the public eye, but remained a subject of fascination. People continued to argue about what really happened in that house. Janet eventually grew up, moved away, and lived a quiet life. However, she has always maintained that, for the most part, what happened was real. So, what's the truth? Was the Enfield Poltergeist a genuine case of paranormal activity, an elaborate hoax, or something in between? We may never know for sure. The Enfield Poltergeist remains a mystery, a puzzle that's both intriguing and terrifying, a reminder of how little we understand about the unknown. Decades later, Janet admitted that the haunting wasn't always real, but insisted that a lot of the strange happenings did occur. There was something strange going on in that house, she said in a rare interview. Even after all these years, she couldn't completely dismiss the paranormal elements. So, was the Enfield Poltergeist real? Maybe. It's a tale that defies simple explanations, with skeptics pointing to natural causes and believers standing by their experiences. Whether you see it as a genuine haunting or a product of the family's circumstances, the Enfield Poltergeist continues to captivate, a case that challenges the boundaries between the known and the unknown. But one thing's for sure, the Enfield case holds a unique place in paranormal history. It's a story of mystery, fear, and wonder, reminding us of the unexplained phenomena that exist just beyond our understanding. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to subscribe for more spine-chilling stories and unexplained mysteries. Who knows what strange tale we'll uncover next?